And I like to bring you on the channel a mixture of different things. My own garden, what I'm doing in my garden, and I also like to take you along when I visit nurseries local to me so we can get some inspiration for our own gardens. And today I'm outside of Hollister, California. This is a family-run operation here at this nursery. We're going to talk to Nick and find out what we can plant in February and March in our own gardens and get some inspiration today. Hey guys, I'm outside of Hollister at the GardenMart, and I'm here with Nick Huston, and Nick is going to give us some pointers on some of the plants that are really great to be planting in your garden this February and in March. What do you got for us, Nick?
Awesome. Really, at this time of year, you can plant almost anything, but I have pulled out a few different things from your rosemaries and your lavenders, which are very common to most people. I also have grasses and shrubs, color, perennials and annuals, your seasonal stuff that will be coming in the springtime. Really, there's a wide variety and we carry a lot of different stuff. The best way is for people to just come out here, but we wanted to at least show off some things that are looking good.
Yeah, we'll highlight a
right
few
now.
things here.
So like I said, I mean, you have your rosemary and lavender, which again are good for smell. It will be deer proof as well. Very good pollinator plants. So your pollinators will be your bees, your butterflies, hummingbirds, as well as much as we hate them, your wasps.
They do serve a purpose.
They do serve a purpose.
Now, how tall will these plants get?
Your rosemary, if you just let it go, it could get up to about 6 feet tall. Your lavender, on the other hand, this is going to probably max out about 3, maybe 4 feet tall if you just let it go.
Okay.
We do both with both of these plants. We recommend to trim them once they're established, maybe every other year or so, to help keep them from getting woody, which tends to be the complaint.
And these are pretty drought resistant.
Yes, all the plants that I have pulled out here will be very low water. Now again, it's going to take water to get them established. But also here at the GardenMart, we are growing stuff that is going to be acclimated to this area. We know that Hollister can have very intense temperatures, whether it be 105 in the summertime down to below freezing temperatures in the wintertime. Also add in the aspect of the wind, which can help dry out plants, which then we just need to water more. In Hollister, we have a lot of clay, so that actually holds the water really well. If you were to go just over to Santa Cruz, it's going to be more sand, which then you'd have to water more. There's pros and cons to everything.
Yes, and you definitely need to know your soil type too.
Yes.
And that's just with experience. You get to learn that as you go.
What happens with a lot of people here in Hollister is they do notice that the ground is really hard on top, but don't realize that the clay is holding the water underneath, so they keep watering and watering and watering, and then they kill their plants and they don't know why, and then they come out and say that
And that's the good thing about coming to an independent nursery is that you can talk to people like Nick who have experience and let them know what's going on. They grow these plants in your area, and so they can give you tips on what you may be able to do to moderate things with your watering, to change things so the plants are doing healthier.
Yes, and that's what our kind of niche, I guess you can say, is the whole knowledge and education, because we want to make sure, one, that you're successful, but also with the planting is to make sure you're putting your plants in the right areas. You don't want to put a sun plant in the shade and vice versa. Always recommend that come and talk to us or send us pictures of plants that might not be looking good before they croak, because then there's a good chance that we could still save them if they are taken care of properly.
Great, that's wonderful. What a great service that is too, that people can do that.
Oh, 100%. The whole education, you never, as they say, you never stop learning. With plants, is we know it's a hit or miss with some people. They, want to say they have a green thumb, they have a black thumb, but we want to make sure everyone can get that green thumb. And so giving plants more water is not always the best option.
Yes. And you learn that. You learn that as you garden. It's
yes,
just, some people think they have brown thumbs, and sometimes it's really not that. It's just you got to gain experience and learn what your soil's like and the growing conditions, and you'll get it. So stick in there. And
Yeah.
what are these?
So this is called Nandina. Very low water. They don't really get too much of a flower. They'll get about 3 to 4 feet tall, maybe a little taller, but they will grow a little trunk, so they almost will look like a little feathery palm tree. You can let them completely grow out and they'll grow different stalks and then will become more of a bush. But a lot of the times you see them and they'll, like I said, be about 3 to 4 feet tall, and they'll get little berries on them. But not so many flowers, but very low water, and they do stay green all year long.
Oh, that's nice. And I see you have 2 different color types here.
Yes.
And will these remain this color?
Yes. So you have your bright green, stay this color. This one will get a little more green, but will still, the reddish is more from the cold, is when they get the cold, they won't lose their leaves, but they'll just change colors, which, as they say, is, the colors of fall. This is one that, yes, as it grows older, it will get more green.
Your eye just catches these little things, and mixing it up really does make a big difference.
Yes, and it adds texture as well, but it will also keep
That's nice. And I do
tint
like the contrast between the two, and that you can take something with darker leaves like this and contrast it with, lighter color leafed plants is really going to look spectacular in the garden.
Oh, 100%. And we also kind of like using stuff like this with your flowers, just because this doesn't put off, necessarily your flower color. It just has the foliage. But with your landscape is if you have too much color in there, then it's just kind of too much to look at.
Yeah, it's that right balance,
So we have 2, again, different colors. These are, it's called cordyline. These, again, also will grow almost like a palm tree, is they will get a trunk. And now these will end up getting maybe more around 6 feet tall. Very, very low water. They're a New Zealand plant. So really want to watch the watering on them, because most likely you will kill them by overwatering them way before you kill them by underwater. They're awesome, and you can kind of just put them out there and let them be. Now is really the best time to be planting, just because we got the rain. It's not super hot yet. And so the plants will have time to get themselves
I love the
situated.
ornamental grasses and some more interest, because the shape is so much different than a lot of the other plants in your garden.
And these are a nice one too, because most of your ornamental grasses, depending on where you live, are going to go dormant. So they'll go brown, which these guys, again, because of their color and because of what they are, they actually will stay green all year long as well.
So interest all year through the garden.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And so when you have other stuff that may not necessarily be looking good, is you still have some good color. And then to finish up with our grasses, these are going to be more of your clumping grasses. This is a juncus. It's going to have more of your dark green, almost blue look. Stay
beautiful,
straight upright, and not take up a whole bunch of space, but it'll give you height and texture around your other flowers.
So what is this one?
So this is it's a carex. It actually, so as it gets bigger, it is a bronze colored grass. So a lot of people, once it gets big, they think it's
dead,
dying, which really isn't the case. The plant is actually supposed to naturally be a bronze color.
Okay.
As it gets older, it does get more brown, and that darker bronze color, copper color, that adds a different texture to when you have a lot of green leaf or greenery around your yard. And we like this one because then it adds a little wispiness, especially here in Hollister, again with the wind, it looks really nice when you get a nice big grass and you can kind of see. And it helps you tell which way the wind's blowing.
Yeah, good point. I love ornamental grasses. I just really love them. And that's one of the things I do love about them is the movement that they give. They're just so beautiful and a different texture again. And that's important, is to mix up your textures in your garden.
Yes, because otherwise, like I said, it's just a little too much chaos if you have just all flowers. And the greenery and the shrubs definitely help with making the flower stuff look even
and not
better.
To mention it's less deadheading doing
this.
So this is definitely something that can be planted right now.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Come out and ask more questions about the other varieties.
And you got to come out here because you'll absolutely love it. It's a really relaxed feeling here at the nursery, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, but pesticide free, and you're very water wise in the nursery. So those are really key factors and really important issues in California.
Yes, they definitely are. We don't get a whole ton of rain here. Water wise is definitely is key. With the bugs is there's new bugs coming every year. We have to try and figure out what could potentially be eating our plants or the roots, and that will help us to be more successful and wondering what is going on with the actual plant. And we, like she said, is we don't use pesticides. We use beneficial bugs. We get little strips that have thousands of bugs on them, bug eggs, and we put them out around the nursery, and then over time as they hatch, and that is how we fight off our
I think it's a great idea. And I think people are starting to learn more about that. Nick gave me a link to a local company that you're able to buy beneficial insects from for your garden. And I'll put a link in the video description for that place, and you can check it out on your own.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's get into some color.
Color here in the garden.
Yes, so these are actually the same plant, different varieties. So it's called Erysimum. The purple here, honestly, this is probably one of our favorite plants on the property, just because it is so low maintenance. And also, again, when it's cold, is you don't get a whole bunch of plants with flowers. That's usually kind of when your shrubs and your greenery are looking really good. These two, their main full blooming season is the winter time.
Okay.
As you can kind of see, is the purple one is going to be a lot bigger. So this purple one is probably going to get about 3 to 4 feet tall, as well as width-wise. Now the yellow one, this guy's probably only going to get maybe 1.5 feet, 2 feet tall max. It's going to spread out a little bit more. Now it's not necessarily a ground cover, but it's a low growing shrub that you can use to cover up space. And again, like I said, it is perfect for this time of year because it's in full bloom and you'll still have
beautiful.
A lot of color.
And I just love that. It hasn't opened up, but if you could see the center of this, dark, and it's really what a contrast, and so beautiful, and the leaves are dark. It's gorgeous. Love that.
And these are an easy one for your maintenance purposes. When the plant is all done blooming, is most of the flowers will all finish at the same time. Then you can kind of just grab your clippers and just kind of give it like a buzz cut. That way then you're not having to go out and pick it, every single deadhead.
Now, so their off season begins about when?
To be completely honest, they don't really have an off season.
Okay, so they just stop blooming.
Yeah,
but they're still they're evergreen.
Yes,
basically.
they're definitely evergreen. I mean, we had these plants. We do have another store downtown called the GardenShoppe, but in the landscape we have a handful of these guys. And they more or less are almost blooming all year long. Again, there's, when we have to trim them a little bit, is there might be a month or two where, they have to recoup. Even at those times, is they do still have some flowers. So when people do ask, is there something that blooms all year long?
On and off.
99% of the plants is wrong, but this plant is one that you can almost say that does bloom.
It's a beautiful plant. The leaves remind me, it's commonly called an African daisy, I think.
Yes, yeah, the leaves are very similar to the osteospermum, the African daisy, or your Shasta daisy too.
Yes.
They're a little thinner, but they're hardy just like those two plants as well.
Well, they're absolutely gorgeous plants, and these are ones that I don't have in my garden. It's something I definitely would consider.
Yes, these are, like I said, these are probably one of our favorite plants.
Closer to the coast, would they still?
Yes. Yep. They'll still do well over there. This plant really would work almost anywhere in California.
Okay, great. Yeah. Perfect. Good options. Beautiful.
The last two I have are going to be more of what we consider shrubs. The one with the berries here, this is called Pyracanthus. It's a very beautiful, very low water shrub. If trained, it can almost be like a little mini tree. With this plant, we always suggest to put it in a low traffic area of your garden because it does get really nasty thorns. We usually say put it in a corner where no one's going to really go much. And this is again a plant that you really don't even have to trim. It kind of is more or less self-maintaining because the berries will just fall off and usually birds or something will eat them.
So they're not poisonous to animals then?
No.
Okay, that's
No.
a good thing to know. Whenever I see something with berries, I always like, is that okay? Going to be okay with the? I don't have any animals, but I do get the neighbors' animals that come by, and I don't want them to be getting poisoned by something.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the berries, I mean, technically, I guess, would be edible, but they're not going to taste very good. But no, they are not poisonous, so it's not something you would have to worry about for your dogs or your cats.
Well, really pretty.
But if you do have a larger area and you want to keep your neighbors out, this would be a good one to put on the border.
And, these would be great for crafts.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful.
Once the plant is bigger and we have bigger stems with them, you can use these for bouquets or as cut flowers for a vase to put with some flowers. But yeah, we just usually tell people is just be very careful with them because they would be almost like thorns for like a blackberry. Yeah. Needle sharp, and they are not very fun to deal with.
It sounds like he talks from experience.
Yes, they definitely will draw blood. They're a very self-maintaining plant. So if you put it in an area that is away from, a high traffic spot, then you really won't have to worry about that because it's really not going to need much trimming as well.
Just really pretty, Nick.
But the berries again come more in the winter time. So this is another one. It doesn't really have flowers, but in the winter time it gets all these big clusters of berries that when it's nice and big it's one of the first things you'll notice.
And year-long leaves.
Yes, it again will be evergreen. Doesn't go dormant. It will, like I said, get to a pretty good size. It can get 8 to 10 feet tall.
Which is good if that's what you're looking for. And creating shade in your garden is always a plus for me because my garden is out in the open. In the summertime, hardly any shade. So
yeah, no, and these would be perfect. And again, when you do your gardens, is you don't want to use just a bunch of small things. And the reasoning for that is one, you're just going to use a lot more plants, so it's more work. And then also finances are always a big thing. So if you add in some bigger plants, like this pyrocanthus or this is a Raphiolepis, both of these plants are going to stay evergreen, will take up a good amount of space. So then you can use them more as your base plant and then plan the rest of your garden around these.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. These have just absolutely beautiful blooms, and the buds are just as pretty.
And yes, this is another one that once the plant gets bigger, is we use this one again for your cut flowers and to use in bouquets and stuff like that. These plants are rather fast growing, so once you get them out of these grow pots, they're going to take off, especially for this time of year, because they're going to get themselves acclimated and it's not super hot yet. We highly do not advise to plant stuff in the middle of summer because the plant's going to be going through too much shock, and with the temperatures
it's too dry and the soil cannot get enough moisture for the plants. So
yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So your plant's going to be struggling, not to say it will not survive, but it's going to take a lot more maintenance to keep it alive during the middle of summer rather than planting, say, from February to the end of April or May.
Sorry, I'm investigating here because I'm seeing little berries here too on
yes,
these.
So the berries actually would be when the plant is done.
Okay.
So inside of those little berries is going to be your seed.
That is beautiful. I love those.
So for those home gardeners who have the time and patience, if you wanted, you could grab that little seed and open it up, and you can actually try planting them. We just don't have the patience or the time or space to grow them from there.
Some great options you've got for us here, and honestly some that I have not even considered for my garden because I haven't even been shown these type of plants or my eye hasn't gone to them. But they're beautiful choices here. All of the ones that you've shown us today are just gorgeous.
Awesome.
Yeah, so what I wanted to talk about too, Nick, is that you're very strong in the community, the nursery is.
Yes.
And can you talk a little bit about some of the things you do with the community?
Yeah, so we work with the special ed at the high school, and once a week on Mondays, there's 3 classes that rotate. So the special ed class will come out here. and they'll do work experience stuff. So they'll plant some stuff, they will sweep, they'll water, they'll dump dead plants, because yes, we kill plants too. But they love coming out here. They love just the air, the plants, getting their hands dirty a little bit.
And not being in the classroom. So.
And not being in the classroom is always a high perk. We also do a lot of stuff with the nonprofits. So we do, and our big nonprofits that we work with are the pet nonprofits, because we know that's a big problem here, is with people not knowing, to get their dogs fixed or stuff like that. A lot of people are getting rid of animals for wrong reasons.
And you and your mom have adopted, how many pets do you have right now that are adopted?
So we actually have 5 dogs that are fosters that we're trying to get adopted. Through the GardenShoppe downtown, we have a nonprofit called Vincent's Garden of Hope. And through that, we started just mainly to support the SNP bus to help people get their dogs fixed, because we know how pricey that can be. We wanted to help try and do that, but one thing led to another, and we started looking at shelters. And so there was dogs that perfectly happy, healthy dogs that were gonna get put down, and we didn't have the heart to let that happen. So yes, we have 5 dogs at the moment that are up for foster, or up for adoption, sorry. So you can look on the GardenShoppe or look up Vincent's Garden of Hope, and you can or get in touch with us and we can help you out. All of our dogs that we adopt out are fixed, have chips, and have all their shots. And so they're all lovely and wonderful dogs. They just need a happy home to go to, because it's getting loud around here.
And he's picking up a lot of stuff. Let's just say.
Yes. I have a lot of plants to take care of. I don't need all the dog droppings.
But he loves them too.
Yes.
But I tell you, you guys are really involved in the community. Outside of that, the other shop that you have, the GardenShoppe in Hollister in the town, it's kind of a knick-knack of lots of fun stuff in the shop. There's some house plants for sale, but there's also other things too that are really interesting and a lot of fun to go visit. It's just a little old house that's been done up in the business.
Yeah.
And then is there some bartending going on there?
Yeah, so the house, it was built in 1870. We turned it into more of a boutique shop, and kind of going along with what we do is we don't buy from any of your big corporations or anything like that. Everything that's in the shop is going to be from either a small business, a woman-owned business. We have veteran-owned business stuff there with some coffee. We do pet apparel and pet dog treats, cat treats.
Some really fun stuff.
And then a lot of the percentages of proceeds go back to pet rescues. And so everything in there is from small businesses all over the country. And then when we opened it, we had our beer and wine license. We set up the backyard with patio furniture, umbrellas and shade. So you can go out there, grab a glass of wine, grab a cold beer, just go relax and shop. So it's kind of more of a homey feel. You don't have
bring your pets?
Where you can bring your pets and you don't have to clean up your dishes.
We can all use that.
Yeah.